Hello again, and welcome back. Now we're going to start on pulling out some more symbols, bringing back some things that we might have gotten rid of that we really want to have. I'm bringing back my narcissus seed pods because they are in my head. And I really love them, and I'm just following some of the drip lines actually, since they're fairly straight, with a darker color. It's that Payne's gray again. And I'm just going to bring them back into the painting because I really feel like they are a part of this somehow. Haven't figured out how yet, but somehow. And there's just something about their form and their simplicity that's really appealing to me right now. So I am going with that. It's a big part of it, is to just trust whatever's going on, because we don't tend to trust our instincts often enough. And I'm still adding more pattern, just different angles of the brush. I'm using a smaller flat brush than the one I was using before, just to make my cooler layers, which will be the next layers, more interesting. And taking some of that darker color and just defining certain spots, certain areas that I know might get a little bit darker later. Like I'm feeling like this is going to be a night sky of some sort with stars. So I'm just coming in with a darker color, pulling out a little bit more symbolism, a little bit more of what looks like it'll be interesting to me. I'm still feeling like this one's staying. This is sort of an in-between stage. This is something that I sometimes will do between the second and third stages, just to sort of give myself an idea of where I'm going. I'm still not planning anything, but the things that I know that I like in the painting, I'm trying to accentuate just so I don't lose them in the next layer when I start putting in more cool colors again. Because I'm going to come back in with those the turquoises and the blues that are really doing it for me. And this bird, for some reason, I still haven't figured out why, kind of feels like a raven of some sort. Is apparently staying, though, like I said, I have no idea where this is going. And it's going right through that guy, so maybe he's going. Interesting. So that might not be staying, and then the bird is coming forward, which might be interesting. Haven't a clue. And I still feel like I want this guy to still be here. This other narcissus from before. So I'm going to pull him back out because I don't want to lose him. And I'm just going to follow the same line that I originally had. Up. There. And since I've got 3 of them on the other side, I'm going to do 2 on this side so that it's, balanced but not balanced. in its asymmetrical sort of way. Not too matchy-matchy, as it were. This here is feeling less and less like an arch, and much more like some sort of pod, seed pod or something. A cocoon almost. That actually makes sense. That. I know that. Do some more of these. Make sure, like I said, you want to do more of something if you do it somewhere else. So before I forget that I did those up there, I'm going to do some more of them. So I'm just going from one section into another and just doing it. Still no rhyme or reason. I'm just doing it wherever it feels good. Because this is all still going to be part of the layers that we continue with. And the word listen has just come back again. I think my inner self is trying to remind me to just listen. I don't know what's happening over in this corner here. Something, but I don't know what. And this is going to get color, I believe. Feels like anyway. I feel like there's going to be more color happening in here. And you'll start finding that your brush will start to wander. Things will start happening that you don't really have an explanation for at the moment. I have no idea what that is going on. But I'll repeat it, since obviously it means something to me at some point. It's almost like it happened naturally in those marks down there. It's kind of cool. And we're still building layers. You'll keep going back and forth, building more and more layers each time, literally until the painting is finished. It'll just keep happening. It's kind of cool. It's like a little cotton blob or something. Weird. Oh, it's a dove. I didn't realize that at first, the bird. But as soon as I saw that mark that was already there, I realized it was going to be a dove. Okay. Lots of doves around here, so I guess that makes sense. They're also a symbol of peace and being gentle with oneself, and that's what we are trying to accomplish here, is to have a more peaceful interaction with our subconscious. So that absolutely makes sense. And like I said, you don't have to interpret while you're doing the work. You can absolutely interpret later when you're journaling. In fact, it's often better if you do it when you're journaling, because then you don't get distracted. I'm just so used to doing it that I kind of do it while I'm doing the work. That idea of ripples is still happening, even though now it's happening around the cocoon instead of whatever that doorway was. I have no idea what's happening there either. But it does make it interesting. So what I'm going to do is, anywhere else that it feels right, I'm going to do that same feeling. It's funny because I'm not consciously avoiding her, but there's a part of me that is definitely avoiding her. So I'll have to figure out what that's all about. Because there is definitely a part of me that is avoiding that whole section of the painting. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes of that. And why? Why is that bird so huge? I don't know. But now the narcissuses are going in front of him. And that one's coming back again. And it's not conscious choices. I'm just pulling out whatever comes to me, whatever strikes a chord. I'm just using the edge of a flat brush, so you load it up on both sides, and then you use the straight on the flat tip and pull, and it'll give you a nice thin-ish, straight-ish line, depending. Some days it's more controlled than others. I know where I'm going with that. I don't need that one. I need this one. Alright, I'm going to wait for that to dry, I think. And then when I go in with the next layer, it's going to be my blues and greens. And lighter. I think I'm going to do some softer turquoises and stuff this time. I'm feeling getting softer and lighter colors this time as I go. And you'll notice that too. You'll find that you'll start getting into softer, lighter, more... It's hard to explain. Softer, lighter colors that will feel more uplifting. Once you start going into the deeper stuff, pulling out the symbolism, after you've journaled on the second section, when you come back to the painting, This is the first exercise that you're going to do before you hop into putting more color on for the third section. So when you come back and you start pulling in symbols, and it can be leaves, it can be hearts, it can be things you find in nature, it could be stars, it could be any number of things. Really think about what comes up for you when you see certain colors. If you look at a certain part of the canvas and it brings up a certain emotion, is there a color or a pattern or something that's connected with that somehow? And you can journal it down so that you don't forget it, or you can just put it directly onto the canvas. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then once that new layer of symbolism dries, then we'll come back in and start adding some softer color, and then we'll start really getting into a further layer of dealing with some of the things that we've brought up in all of this, and really talking about how they affect you, how to change them into something that feels good. For example, I was avoiding this section, but I can already feel that in the next layer, I'm going to be working more in this. So I think it was mostly that she doesn't have any more symbolism in herself to show me, and that going forward in the next layer, it'll start making sense. So sometimes it'll be like a section of the painting that you work on that'll make sense, and then other parts will make no sense. And like I said, in this one, a word came up again, which sometimes happens. And it may stay, it may not. So when we come back, we're going to do some more of our cool colors. And as I said, I'm going to pick, I've already mixed a little bit of a lighter turquoise because it feels really good. It's a very soothing shade of turquoise. And all I did was blend a little bit of turquoise with white. And sometimes, like I said, with those little pots, if you're going to be using it for more than a day or two, you can add something like this, which is just an extender. It'll cause it to dry more slowly, so that's quite handy to have. And when we come back, we're going to start making some peace out of this chaos. See you in a few minutes.